Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly video for the 13th of October here in 2022. Today was a big risk reversal session that had a lot of surprises and fireworks initially to the downside. We had a 2% decline. It's sort of hard to remember that at the end of the market, but the market actually opened up with a 2% decline, immediately filled that within the first hour, closed the session up 2%. The weakest index was the NASDAQ, but we're going to talk about which stocks led the market. And the other part of tonight's video, beyond just giving an update after the CPI, is the financials. We will be focusing on the financials on Friday. But first, let's talk about the risk reversal. The market does continue, at least in the S&P and the other indices. The equity market is continuing a downtrend, is continuing a bear market. And the words recession continue to loom large on the grand scheme of things. But nonetheless, we are into a risk reversal point. We've inched our way lower, and there is another potential of a risk reversal rally. And the thought process there is when we've gone too far or too much to the downside, the risk actually becomes two additional downside, or I should say the risk becomes of a rally as opposed to the reward of additional downside action. And that's going to be true across the board when we have gone this far, this fast, and over such a short, relatively speaking, period of time. So in terms of risk and reward, there is a better risk that the market rips or rallies or reverses as opposed to the reward of additional downside action. And that does give rise on the big picture to swing trades or short-term opportunities on the short side, on the sell side, after the market has rallied a little higher. So same logic here. When the market has gone up multiple days in a row, the risk of additional continuity must be balanced against the reward of a bigger downside action. And just flip those words. If you're bullish, the reward of additional upside action might not be worth the risk of a downside swing. In other words, the best time in a general sense, even with the market going down, even with the recession, even with the bear market, is not to start jumping into very aggressive short positions at a low, but after a rally. So that is one of the main things to discuss as we go through, of course, the Fed, the CPI, which did come in hotter than expected just by a little bit. We had the initial downside action, but we had a reversal, and it was a big reversal. By the end of the session, this is what the market, the broad sense, looks like with the S&P on the heat map. And taking a look at the index watch, we'll go back over here to the S&P 500. And that also has, this is our advanced decline, 468 stocks were up on today's session. 32 were sell side. One interesting one, 3 of them actually, are some of the retail names. So which ones did not rally in today's session? And that's going to be a list that is a very narrow list, but one that can be of interest. Lowe's, Amazon, and Target. Those are the 3 stocks in the S&P 100 that were actually negative on such a big session today. Outside of the equity futures, we see crude up 2%. And on the flip side, we see the bond market down 1%. Let's take a look at those. For crude, we're seeing these inflationary pressures, and that still is the name of the game. How far is inflation going? Has inflation peaked? Today, the answer from the CPI data was no, inflation has not peaked. And the Federal Reserve will have to continue being aggressive with their campaign of ongoing rate hikes. In general, that's not bullish for the equity market, but not every day can be a down day, nor can every day be an up day. Again, think about those concepts of risk reversal. So there is crude in a little bit of a range, but had a big volatile session. Also, like the equity market, began the day weak, ended the day strong. Not necessarily true with the bond market. So in TLT, again, that specter of inflation is high. The Federal Reserve will continue to raise rates. Bond prices will continue to be under pressure and additional sell side activity. That the other side of it is the 10-year Treasury note yield. That made a new high, and that's expected. It peaked above 4%. 40 means 4% here in the TNX. But it reversed, it risk reversed, if you will, down from its high. So if we put these together, let's put these on the hourly chart just to give a comparison. We'll unlink this and just show how the markets are trading inversely. So here is the SPX, S&P 500 index hourly chart, going down, lower low, lower high, lower low. Today's CPI data sent the index much lower, but it was reversed. On the flip side, yields have been going up. Again, think about this on the same time frame. Down in this period, up on the yields, rally here, decline in the yield, inverse relationship, and this has rallied up. Well, in today's session, we got the low. In today's session, the bond yield got the high, but it immediately risk reversed to the upside, and the yield risk reversed to the downside. Those are things to keep in focus, whether you have trades on, hedges on, put premium, call premium, etc. within these markets. Other would be the TLT, which is going to be similar to the S&P. Again, think of this as a downswing, down move, little rally, new lows, risk reversal back to the upside in the bond market, risk reversal back to the upside in the equity market. Let's get away from the CPI and these volatile markets and talk about what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have some financial earnings. So as we go through, we'll focus on the financials. In a broad sense, there's not much separation or difference with the XLF, which is our ETF that looks at or trades or has positions with financial companies. So it's been in a downtrend. It similarly has a risk reversal. Its point of reference is 30 per share. Now that's the broader index for financials. In tomorrow's session, and in fact, we'll look at some of the leading stocks today. Some of the leading stocks, this is again in the S&P 100, which stocks gained the most on a session where we had a huge intraday low to high reversal. The first up is BlackRock, and a little bit further down, Bank of America, US Bancorp, JP Morgan, and then we'll go from there to some of the other names, which could include Wells Fargo, Berkshire Hathaway, and of course a few others in the S&P 100. Which stocks are in focus for Friday? This is just looking at which or how many days till earnings. If you see a 0, that means they have earnings. Today, that was BlackRock and Walgreens Boots Alliance. Those were earnings before the market opened. But over here, if you see a 1, and the 1 would correspond here to these. That is going to be Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, JP Morgan, US Bancorp, not necessarily a financial, but United Healthcare will also report earnings before the bell on Friday. So after the volatility, after the Fed minutes on Wednesday, after the CPI data on Thursday, we still will be watching the financial market and these particular stocks to see how they perform, what they report. Are there surprises? Are they giving warnings or guidance, or are they saying things are okay? So Wells Fargo, Citigroup, which is coming off the lows, JP Morgan, US Bancorp, and then we'll throw in UNH because that is a healthcare. It has earnings, but it's a little bit different because it is uptrending. And the general healthcare sector itself is a little more sideways than the broader market, which is down. So financials will be in focus, will be in play, and we'll see what they report, any news, any good news, any bad news, and the potential for a risk reversal or a relief rally. Not the bottom of the bear market, but neither were these the bottom of the bear market. Even in bear markets, we do not see markets go straight down. That would be too easy. We do see the market rally, reverse, and some of the rallies, we would call them here in TheoTrade bear market rallies, can be violent, volatile, and surprising. We are on guard for another as we push through October into November. But tomorrow, Financials are the name of the game, and where the markets settle out after we are all able to digest this day's session. As always, be careful and safe. This is Corey Rosenlund with tonight's Theo video update for October 13th, 2022.